To understand economic inequality in our society today, we need to understand how it was built many years ago on racism. Wall Street. You know it as the finance capital of the world, but did you know that Wall Street was first famous for being a key stop on the transatlantic slave trade? That's right. The financial capital of the United States was actually a trading post for enslaved men and women. By the mid-1700s, New York City had one of the largest populations of enslaved people in North America, with about 40% of white households owning at least one enslaved person. Buying and selling enslaved people was essential to setting up some of the future success of today's Wall Street banks. They built their fortunes by loaning money to owners of enslaved people. If those owners couldn't pay back their loans, the enslaved people became legal property of the banks. That's how some of today's biggest and most powerful banks, like J.P. Morgan Chase and Bank of America, got their start. Since the very beginnings of our country, two ideas, racism and free market capitalism, have worked together to shape both how our society works and government policies. Together, racism and capitalism have formed the basis of so much of what we experience today. The two ideas are so deeply connected and such a big part of our daily lives that we have to think of them together if we're going to understand the problems we're facing. Instead of thinking about racism and capitalism separately, we're going to think about them as one connected system called racial capitalism. The system of racial capitalism allows the rich and powerful to take wealth from poor and working class communities, especially communities of color. The rich and powerful keep taking more power and concentrating more wealth. We see it in housing. Decades of discriminatory law practices, known as redlining, have kept people of color from buying homes in white neighborhoods. These policies have prevented people of color from building wealth, allowing more and more money to concentrate in white communities. In recent years, dozens of major banks, including Wells Fargo, TD Bank, and Capital One, have been sued for basing their lending decisions on skin color. Black and brown borrowers are nearly twice as likely to be given high-interest mortgages compared to white borrowers with similar incomes and credit histories. We see it in air and water quality. People of color are more likely to be exposed to pollution than their white neighbors. Big corporations have made it a common practice to put major sources of pollution, like landfills and incinerators, in black and brown neighborhoods. These cause higher rates of asthma, heart disease, and cancer. We see it in education. Chronic underfunding of our public schools has hit communities of color the hardest. Schools have closed, classroom sizes have ballooned, and arts and music programs have been cut. Wealthy investors looking to make a quick buck opened for-profit charter schools in low-income neighborhoods. Education has become a billion-dollar business, and black and brown students are the ones paying the price. The average black family would need to toil away for 228 years to amass the wealth of a white family today. Racial inequality is woven into the fabric of our economy, and an economic system that profits off racism takes a serious human toll in the form of mass incarceration and over-policing. To challenge one broken system, the other must be addressed as well. Only by dismantling racial capitalism can we begin to repair the deep harm done to our communities and create a society that works for all of us.